Charles, Lisa.
Good
Morning.
morning, good morning. Yeah, good morning, Chi Chi fam.
Oh yeah, Chi Chi fans. Good morning. It's Friday. Friday. You guys got any plans for this weekend?
Work
Working, more working. This is a crazy week right now.
Work.
never stops.
For reals. And we're moving warehouses again because we need like a bigger space.
That's
So,
amazing.
oh my God, yeah, it is. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, moving all that inventory, getting reorganized again. Right,
Well,
Charles? You
okay,
just got
but
done moving.
here's the thing though. I mean, that's awesome. It's all what's it been like a couple months, 3 months, something, and
It's
you're
only been
moving
since,
again.
yeah, it's only been since February or March. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a long time. Well, that's cool though. That's
Yeah.
see this is how I don't realize how much time has passed because I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this the other day? You got that warehouse?
Yeah, a
Uh,
lot came by very fast, dude. A lot has definitely been going on. So it's been good, So because Nali's doing this full time now, so all of that. So it's been good. But hey, y'all ready to talk about today's topic?
let's
Absolutely.
do it.
L- Lisa, you're probably getting heck of people reaching out to you saying, "Hey, can I refinance now? Should I refinance now?"
Um, it's crazy, but at the same time, Gia, most of those people are just like 2 or 3 months out and whatnot, and they don't have the money to come in with the closing costs just yet. So we'll
What
see
about
what happens.
streamlines?
Yes, you can do the streamline, but again, it's some of my people are not because if you're doing the rate buy down to begin with, it's not feasible to do that just yet.
Got it. Yeah, they still have to wait like a few years
A
out.
little bit, yeah, because the
Yeah,
streamline, it's typically the interest rate is a little bit higher, so it's like, okay, hold on for a little bit. I would say wait it out, and we'll see.
So
yeah.
really, the best thing for this now is people that have maybe waited to sell or buy, or if they've had their loans maybe for a year and they were still higher. That would
Right,
probably
right.
be
If you had your, if you got a home somewhere in fourth quarter of last year, absolutely start taking a look at it. Okay, that in the beginning of the year, possibly, definitely,
I see.
yeah. And one of the issues that I'm seeing too is a lot of times people get into a home and they think that, okay, I can let my credit score be a little bit more lax, sure, and everything like that. But when you come to refinance, it's the same guidelines. If the interest rate is going to be geared towards whatever your current credit score is, and things like that too, your debt to income ratio, all of that. So all of that's going to apply again when you refinance. Strangely, I'm actually getting a lot more calls regarding people who were sitting on the fence of purchasing. They're coming back, like
Yeah.
how every single time when the interest rate starts to get lower and whatnot. We had a very unique debate. And after that, that's when the rate started to start looking like it's going down.
All right. Well, we're gonna talk
right.
more about that. Let me just go through all this market update real quick, and then we could talk about today's topic.
The only thing that I have to say about that is dogs and pets.
You're gonna start something I don't want to start,
No,
dude.
No, don't do it. I just gotta say that.
with you.
Well, there's the inventory, y'all. It's going up. Week on week, it's going up. And it has gone up since last week by 1.6%. New listing is down just a slight 0.3%. Sold home is up 12%. Pending homes are also up by almost 17%. Month over month, this month inventory is up by 6%. New listings is down by 1%. Sold homes are down 21%. Pending homes are up almost 9%. Same time last year, more inventory this year by 58%. New listings, there's also more as well, 26%. Sold home is down 9.9. Pending homes, 24% increase from last year, same time. Now, year to date, okay, year to date. This year, on average so far, we have more inventory than last year's by 58%. New listings, it's up by 21%. Sold homes are up by 2%. And pending home is up by 5% this year versus last year. Okay. That's interesting, huh, Lisa?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you, Chia, what do you think that's the case? Because usually right now it starts to slow down because school has already started and things like that. So this is nice. What do you think is going on?
Everybody's kind of like in a scarce mindset right now. And everybody's kind of like confused and they're not sure what it's gonna look like in the next 2 months leading up to or even after. So then because of that, there's a lot of people that are like what you just said, they're coming back into the market, especially since the Feds, did that. It's triggering a lot of minds that, oh shoot, I need to buy now. So things like that, and then you're right. Normally around this time of the year, it starts getting slow. Inventory starts getting slow. Everything starts getting slow, right? But I think it's really because of that reason, that scarce mindset. There's a lot of unknown,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's been
think
like
that's why.
that. And it's been like that, in a few years prior, with COVID and everything. I mean, we've had some unprecedented winters and falls. Last year, I feel like was kind of, pretty standard. But a couple of years before that, I mean, we really didn't slow as much as we normally would, right? It's been very
Right.
unprecedented for the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at this month versus last year, same month, same time frame, this year we have less sold homes, but we have more pending. And if you guys all know, pending kind of correlates with inventory and with sold homes, right? Because if this goes to sold and it's off the market now, this gets lowered and this gets higher, right? So it kind of goes hand in hand. But year over year, so far this year, everything is up. If you look right here, and here's all the data, and this is good to see because you're looking at micro and you're looking at macro information, right? And then that should be able to help you determine what is going on and what's gonna happen, so what's leading up to at least. So yeah, that is very interesting. And I think within the next few months, it's gonna get a little bit more interesting, I'll say the least. Yeah. All right. Average price per square foot is down from last week, 4%. But month over month, it hasn't really changed much, 0.3. Went up a little bit compared to last year, same time by 0.6. But look, year to date, 3.6% increase year to date. Sold price versus list price. Average days on the market went up by 1 day. 26 days on average now for a home to go pending. Versus last week, it was on average 25 days. Now, last month, okay, same time, 26 days this month, 25 days last month. Last year, it was 23 days on average. So, a little bit slower by 3 days, but hey, who's counting, right? 3 days is nothing. And look, on average, this year, on average, homes were going 28 days on average versus last year, it was 32 days, So, again, not much of a change, but that just shows you how fast homes are still selling, You know, anything under that time frame is very fast. Okay, so just think about that. You put your home on the market under a month and it's gone. So that's very fast. A normal market, it's normally a couple of months. Okay. So again, sellers market still. We're still in the sellers market. Okay. Price, sold price and average. Actives. Okay, this week, active price went down. Sold price also went down. Just a slight from last week. But from last month, sold price is up by 1%. And from last year, same time, it's also up 1%. But look right here, year to date. This year, compared to last year, we're up 4.5%. Isn't that interesting, Lisa?
Mm-hmm. So
Despite
sky's not really falling yet, huh, Tia?
no, it's not.
That's
Like
still
everybody feels like, man, prices are gonna be coming down, or market's gonna do this, do that. That's gonna favor buyer more. And I mean, I don't know. You tell me, like does purchase price, sold price is going up 4% on average this year, um, favoring the buyers or favoring the sellers? I don't know. Only you could determine that. But then it's definitely not coming down like what a lot of people are saying, because I know there's still a few gurus out there saying market's been coming down, maybe in other areas of the state. But at least in Sacramento County, which is what I'm going over right now, it's not. Okay, it's still going up 4.5%. So just take that into consideration. Let's look at the inventory, months worth of inventory. This month, so far, we have 2.5 months worth of inventory. Last month, we had 1.8. Last year, we had 1.4. So we definitely have more inventory than last year. Okay. And despite that, prices are still going up 3 to 4%. And year to date, 50% more inventory than last year. Yes, we do. But people are still bidding on homes. That's why these prices are still going up. Until this inventory right here, these months worth of inventory gets a lot higher, 4 to 6 months, then we really won't start seeing a true effect going into like a buyer's market. Okay. So just remember that 4 to 6 months consistently. Okay. Consistently. So it needs to be, you see how 1.8, it needs to be like 4 to 6 months worth of inventory consistently. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me.
bless
In
you.
order for like us to, thank you, in order for us to really, really see a change. Okay. And that is the market update. Let's go look at mortgage rates, huh? Look at that, everybody. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, after the Feds did their thing. Look at this.
So this didn't happen after the Fed meeting, just so everybody
Right.
knows. Okay.
It didn't.
We've been
Because today's Friday. Wednesday was
correct,
a couple of days ago.
correct, and we didn't start seeing this change until after that, again, unique debate. And it's been like that since then. And after the Feds met, they did talk about the 50 bips rate cut. But again, it does not reflect on the mortgage rates. In fact, interest rates started to kind of, depending on the situation, depending on the credit score and whatnot, some areas, interest rates actually started to go up a little bit. So in our industry, we look at the rates and for our consumers, and we ask ourselves, hey, do we lock the rate today, or do we float? Right now, it's actually recommended in our industry to float, see what happens this coming week and whatnot. I don't see it going down any further, but anything could happen. This is a very unusual year. What's going on in our political campaign is making a difference in this. It seems like it kind of is, but I'm sure there's a lot more background to that and whatnot. But we're seeing what we're seeing right now. So I would say if it makes sense for you to refinance, if you have an interest rate of over 7%, it might be a really, really good idea to start looking at the numbers to see if it makes sense for you.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. And again, this is just from mortgagenewsdaily.com. I get people asking me all the time, Chia, how did you pull up, or how do you go over the rates for today and all that? What's accurate? Do I go on Zillow? Do I go on Redfin? Where do I go? Just go on mortgagenewsdaily.com. They're pretty good updating everything. But you know what's funny? I don't know if you check, Lisa, but on Wednesday, when the Feds did that, the site was down for a few hours.
Yes, I did see that because everybody was trying to call and say, hey, what is it today? What is it today? And stuff. Like even for us on our mortgage side, it's like everything was a standstill for quite some time.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. The page died. It took forever to load up. It kept saying error, come back.
Yeah.
So that's just how you know everybody's trying to stay on top of it, hoping for everything to come back. But what do you think is gonna happen? Like, you think it's gonna go lower, Lisa?
Oh man, what a loaded
This
question.
year, I mean, this year.
Yeah, what a loaded question, right? Right now, right up until the election and whatnot, I think it's gonna be like this until then. Okay. But it really depends on the candidates that is going to take over office in the upcoming year. So, I mean, I have my own opinion on that because it is so controversial. I think I'm going to keep it to myself.
What? No teasers? No nothing?
I think if really right now you have bird in hand, if it's favorable for you to refinance again later, do it later, but don't anticipate that. I don't see it going lower is basically what I'm saying.
You really don't see it going lower. Okay.
I don't see it going lower. I see it's going to stabilize. And even if it did, okay, give or take, up or down, 0.5 point, guys. Okay. So up or down, I think it's going to go up or down roughly about 0.5%. I don't see it going into the COVID world.
No, definitely not.
Right. Gia, can you bring up that years of history? That was on here, right? When you pulled it up?
The what right here?
Yeah, right there. Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. It's just like that. That was. Has that? I mean, I don't know how far this history goes, but has that ever even? It hasn't ever happened that low before in our in the last 50 years, 60 years. Has the rate ever been that low before?
You mean, are you talking about COVID years, or are you talking about right now, Charles?
No, like right where it is in COVID years. 3 years ago, 4 years ago ish. In the last 50 years, let's say 50 years, has the rate ever been that low?
Nope, never.
I mean, it's gone down. Look, in 2016, it went down to 3.4%. You see?
Remember though.
This is 2016.
Okay. Remember in 2016 too. Okay. There was a lot of other things that happening and whatnot, but as far as going down that low, you have to understand there's a lot of rate buy downs too. During COVID, okay, a lot of people were getting a 2.5% without even buying that down at all. So you have to take in that account. Even in 2016, it was not as low as it was in COVID whatsoever. Not even close.
This was when I did my streamline 2.8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
People just need to understand that that's not if that was the situation, that was great and it was amazing and you can bank for that, but that's not normal. And
That
what
is
was the
correct.
circumstances that had to happen to cause that, right? Like that's not
Right.
a normal. Like it was basically everybody was assuming that it was just the horrible situation, like and all the time that it took, and all the everybody that was off and not working, and the money that wasn't being made. They really needed to stimulate the economy to make something happen, and that what happened was so unprecedented. So it's just people have to understand that is not normal. That's probably not going to happen again in your lifetime, unless something crazy happens again.
Right.
This is what's normal. And then look at all those higher, the double digits. Way back.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're very right about that, Charles. And what happened during COVID should not have happened. We are eating up the interest rates now to make up for that time, pretty much.
And all of the rest of this inflation, right? That's a whole nother thing, right? I mean, we can get deep into that. So, but that's the thing. Yeah. Look at that. Okay, so there you go, right there. That back in 1980. What was that? 18%.
81 was an 18%, y'all. Come on.
My goodness.
Ooh.
Yeah. Keep in mind, though, home prices were a lot less back then, too. So we are on unprecedented time, being that we have peak home prices and also higher interest rates as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think during this time, home was like going for like what, couple $1,000s for like the same home today,
I wouldn't say a couple thousand, but I would say under 100,000.
Yeah, I feel like my parents.
Well, in the 80s.
Yeah, my parents bought their house probably for, I think it was like $70,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
now that house is going for like $450. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and we're not, but that's the thing. It's like looking at this trend from that time when it was insane. It's steadily gone down over 40 years, and then it massively dipped when COVID happened, right? So, but then it's like we're probably going to be on a slow uptrend again. So it all just depends.
Well, looking at this chart, man, it's scary. You know what this kind of makes me automatically assume? You said it, right, Charles? It's trending down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a slight hiccup right here, but it's because they're trying to tackle inflation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if this is the trend of going down, what do you think prices are going to do? Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
If this is the trend since 1980s, 70s, prices are going to be trending up. It's going to keep trending up. So it makes sense why they keep lowering the rates, and why it's been trending down is because they have to combat the prices going up.
Well,
to make it affordable, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about, hey, we are going to give more incentives to first-time buyers or for home ownership. Here's the thing: give some incentives to the seller, because at this time there's a lot of people that have homes that are sitting. They want to downsize, but it's not financially beneficial for them to do so, because they sit on so much equity, especially those in the Bay Area who have way more than $500,000 in equity, and therefore if they sell it, they're going to get a huge chunk of capital gains. And so if they did that, not only do they give up, they feel like they're giving up a portion of that equity to Uncle Sam. To downsize, I'm going to give a perfect example. We have a client who purchased in a home in the Bay Area for $1.2 million. It's now worth $3.5 million. Okay, they can't sell even though they're separating. Okay, that's a couple of sad situation, but they can't sell that because after the taxes and everything like that, not only do they not have enough, they do not have enough to get a separate downsized house. And we're looking at 2 different condos and whatnot. So it makes it very difficult for people who want to sell their home and therefore the inventory is going to be continuously low, right? And even if interest rates is going to go lower to help with that, like you said, Chia, but if there's not enough inventory to catch up with the demand, home prices will continue to go up without having to lower the interest rate whatsoever.
Well, Lisa,
Yeah.
when you said they can't, so they're looking at about 1.5 million in equity, is what you're saying?
Oh, way more than
Basically?
that. So they bought it
Okay.
at 1.2, right? They
1.2.
bought it
Okay.
at 1.2.
So then,
It's
in
worth
order for them to
3.5.
yeah, so in order for them to sell that, and for both of them to have a separate home in the Bay Area, now we're talking they need to have. So, but if they were to, but so and this might be a question you can't answer, but in order to sell something like that and to get that much equity, what would they be looking at for capital gains? I mean, are we talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, like multiple hundreds of thousands, or like
multiple hundreds of thousands? It depends on their tax bracket too. So in this situation, her tax bracket was in the 40 percentile. So they're losing pretty much 40% of equity. And on top of that, they're dividing it by 2 people, right? After a 40% cut, you're now actually getting only a quarter of that part of the equity. So they're looking to not, see if one person can buy out the other, something of the sort. This is like a 2-year decision in the making, and it's a different type of situation where people who no longer are married decide to actually still continue to stay in the household because for reasons like this. So there's no more incentives. Really, we've got to give the incentives to the seller to open up that market to basically even out the playing fields between inventory and the demand for it.
Well, forgive me if I'm asking questions. I'm just, because you've been doing this so long. What can the seller do to avoid that? I know there's sometimes when you do like what's a 1031 exchange when you're selling a house.
Yeah, I mean, these are
Now,
great questions, Charles. These are great questions. You can only do that with a investment property, okay? And then if you are downsizing and you are at retirement age, then yes, that may help, okay? But again, it really depends on your tax bracket. Definitely talk to your CPA about it. When there's an astronomical amount of equity, especially in the Bay Area where it's a huge amount, we're talking about 7-figure amounts, and then it makes it really tough. And realistically, even if it wasn't the tax situation, right? You're downsizing to a home that is probably double the cost of what your current house is right now. So financially, it's like, okay, I'm going to downsize. But let's just say, for instance, in this situation of my client, I'm going to downsize. She can't even buy a condo for 1.2 million in the area.
Yeah.
Right. So you're trading in another house, property tax, and if you're in retirement age and everything, you can actually transfer the property tax that you had prior to selling the house. So that's fine. Okay. But you have to be of that age.
So the only way basically to get out of having to pay that insane amount of taxes is only if just to trade up to a different property or trade down to a different property. You have to be so 60, 50. Like, what's the age range for that?
So as far as retirement goes, it's at 55 and above.
Okay. And then at that point, then you can transfer the original amount, the rate of the original amount, and then you wouldn't be paying.
Yeah, you can do it one time. California allows you to do it one time.
So there's no other way, though, for them to transfer that equity into something else and avoid at least some of those taxes. There's nothing else they can do.
No, not that I'm aware of. Again, talk to your CPA about that one. Okay. But not that I am aware of.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's some kind of investment opportunity or something that can be done, because that's I would say, like, why not just keep the house and wait until the retirement age and then rent it out, right? I mean, I don't know how big the house is, but I mean, I would say between the two of them, rent it out and take that income and then wait until one of them is at retirement age and then sell it, because that's
Absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't. That's such a large amount of money to lose.
Absolutely. You're very right about that, Charles. And here's the thing. That is the reason why the inventory going to be continuously lower than the demand. And this is the reason why home prices still continue to rise. Year after year, Chia shows us all this data and whatnot, right? As long as that side is still higher than the demand, we're not going to see this quote unquote sky falling, right? And just like you said, strategically, if you know you can't get out of the whole equity part, right, Charles? People would rather get a home equity line of credit or a second loan or a mortgage. Now they don't have a mortgage. They're going to get a mortgage on the first just so they can get the cash out, pay the next house, the house that they're downsizing, off completely, and rent out the bigger house. That is more financially sensible to them in most cases, Charles. So without the seller benefit, without alleviating that, I think that's a double whammy. If you help sellers, give sellers the incentive to sell, by all means, you're also helping the buyer too, because now you're freeing up inventory. And the more inventory that there is, then the home prices wouldn't rise as much, right, Chia? When there's a little bit more inventory, there's a little bit more competition. And if it matches with the demand and whatnot, okay, it helps both sides.
Yeah, over the past few years, like it's really evident, Charles, that all these programs that come out, it's always in favor of home buyers.
Right.
And when it's in favor of the home buyers, it's not in favor of the sellers anymore, right? And speaking of taxes, right? Like I kind of want to get both of y'all takes on this. We're gonna go over Kamala's tax plan and Trump's. Okay, we're not gonna go into anything else, just tax, since we're talking about it. Like this is, I kind of want to see what you guys think in regards to how it's gonna affect real estate, right? So this is Trump's tax plan to lower corporate income tax from 21 to 20%, and lower corporate income tax rate to 15% for companies that make their products domestic, right? So this could be good. For me, I feel like if it's corporate income tax is lower now, then that means the overall cost is going to also be lower for consumers, right? That means they could save more. They could now use that money towards, saving towards buying a home or whatever. They could save more now because the end product overall is going to be lower, right? To make tips and overtime exempt, that's really good. Now they're really going to be able to save, especially if they're in that type of industry, right? To where they get a lot of tips and a lot of overtime. They don't have to pay income taxes on that. That's a huge savings right there at the end of the year, right? To
Huge.
end taxes on Social Security. Oh man, this is great for like a lot of people that's looking towards retirement, right? Social Security. That's a huge benefit right there. More savings. To impose a 10 to 20% tariff on most imported goods and a 60% tariff on goods imported from China. Tariffs. So, that's his tax plan. So I feel like overall his tax plan is so that way Americans can save more at the end of the year. Is that what you guys see too?
Yeah, but then, so my question, when there's always tax cuts like this and quote unquote free money that's given out, there has to be a time at which this money is recouped, because they're actually taking all this money in now. The government is on taxes from businesses, from consumers, from individuals, and so in order to cut and then add taxes to these these foreign goods that are coming in. I'm looking at my drone right here on my desk, which is made in China. I'm sure there are a lot of other products that are coming out of China. And so, I feel like without something else to recoup this money that is being cut, where's it going to come from?
That is the $1 million question, right?
That's really my only concern. And anytime that any of these, stimulus payments or, this is back when Obama was in office, and there was some payments being given out back then. it's like all of this stuff has to be paid for at some point, by all of us that are paying taxes as Americans. All of this stuff has to come out somewhere. So this all sounds great. It sounds like it's going to be useful. But again, then what is that going to well, and then the part that's directly above that it says both plans will increase the national deficit. And that's exactly what I feel like is going to happen for sure, because we're taking money that is to pay off all of this excess government spending, and because in order to pay for that, that's coming from taxes, right? So what else is going to now suffer because of these cuts and because of these I mean, if you're going to say, okay, so we're bringing all these things, from that are imported, but then 60%. So anything coming from any other country, 10 to 20, and then directly, specifically from China, 60%. I just, is that going to convince them to stop trading or to stop allowing us to import things now? I mean, are they going to increase their prices on their products? I mean, there's so many other things that I feel like are going to happen.
Sure, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get the money back somehow, these other countries. So, I mean, these products are pretty inexpensive as it is, right? I mean, like I said, again, looking at this drone right here, I mean, this for this, the regular consumer, this thing is rather inexpensive, to be able to use. So, I mean, if there's going to be an increase like that, there's going to be some kind of repercussion.
I think there is. And remember, the supply chain. We saw what happened to that, right? Like that caused everything to go off in prices, right? At Home Depot, supply, everything like that. So this is definitely going to have an effect on that for sure. Now let's look at Kamala's tax plan. So this is hers. To raise the corporate income tax from 21 to 28%. To raise capital gains tax from 20 to 28% for people who make more than $1 million or more annually. To make tips exempt from income tax, okay? To increase child tax credit to $3,600 for children aged 2 to 5, $3,000 to 6 to 17, and $6,000 for child's first year. To provide $25,000 down payment assistance to qualifying first-time homebuyers. To increase the $5,000 tax deduction for small business startup costs to $50,000. To increase the Medicare tax from 3.8 to 5% for people making more than $400,000 a year. So here's what I kind of want to hear you guys, because this is what we deal with a lot more. Capital gains. What's capital gains, Lisa? Can you talk about that?
So basically, when you're buying a house, okay, or have any type of stocks and whatnot, okay, it's the tax that you get on. I guess it's hard to say. It's like a reward. Almost like, is it a reward or is it a punishment? I have to choose my words very wisely, right?
You're getting tax on the reward.
Oh, okay. Do I say it? Depending on how you guys look at it. Okay, it's either a reward or a almost like consequence of having too much equity, okay, or making too much money off of an investment that you made. Basically, that's what it is. Capital gains is a tax on the gains that you get when you're investing, and that goes to real estate or any other types of investment.
So, to a lot of folks that don't really know, like, if you're single, for an individual, it's what, 250,000 that you're exempt from. Anything more than that, that's what you pay on, right?
Yep.
When you're married, it's 500,000. It doubles basically the equity. If it's anything past that, then you're paying for it.
Right.
If you've owned it for under 2 years, right?
That's for a primary residence, but Well, I mean, that's even if you own it after 2 years, Chia, if you have more that 250 and 500 applies.
That's right.
The 2 year mark, it applies it regardless. There's no,
That's right.
no,
That's right.
yeah,
Then that's when the 250 or
yes,
500K applies, right? That amount. But if it's under it, then it doesn't matter what
correct,
amount it is.
correct.
Okay, so this is good to know, and I wanted you guys to kind of think about this because there are a lot of sellers that this is also the reason why they're not selling too,
Uh-huh,
because capital gains.
right,
A lot of people that have bought these past 2 years probably got a decent price on it because the market's been going up, right? As you guys saw from the market update earlier, 6%. So if it's been going up 6% year over year, that's capital gains that they have to pay because they're now selling under 2 years of owning it.
right.
So think about that, okay? And then now this tax plan, that 20% get tax is now going to increase to 28% if you're making more than $1 million a year. So I feel like this applies to a lot of people in like SoCal and people in the Bay Area.
Correct, correct. And so you see, when you read that, it's like, hey, is that a punishment or is that a reward, right?
Well, to the locals, they would say, "Oh, great, yeah, tax them, so that way they don't have money to come buy all of our homes locally, right?" But then at
Right,
the same time, the market's not gonna move, and you that just bought a home are gonna wonder why your equity's not going up as high as it should, because now
correct.
the market's not moving around your area. You see, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You kind of gotta
Yep,
pick your poison, you know. You you love how your area is going up in value because now you have equity. That's great because you're a homeowner. But then when you're a buyer, you don't like the competition because a lot of people from the Bay Area or so have cash and they're just overbidding you.
Well, and I mean, so the idea behind this capital gains tax is really to tax people that are trying to make money quickly, I guess, maybe on an investment. So if you're selling something, so anybody that's going to buy a home, you would typically expect them to stay in the said home for more than 2 years. So I mean, if they're going to sell it, and then in most cases, the normal consumer that's going to purchase and sell a home, let's say they bought a home, and then 4 or 5 years later they have to move again because of whatever. Maybe they got a different job or whatever. In that case, and they're probably not going to make that much equity. I mean, if they're married, $500,000, they probably didn't make $500,000 in 3 4 years, depending, as long as everything's normal. So then if they go to sell their house, it's like, okay, well, they're not really going to get hit then, right? But
No,
right,
it's really meant for investment people that are investing because they're trying to gain so much money so quickly, and by investing. So it's more for like basically investment types people, right? So I feel like this plan is mostly for larger businesses that are making large amounts of money, and some of the tax rates before were so low because
I know what
I
you're
don't want to
getting
get
at.
I don't want to get into big political stuff, right? But the plan with most of the stuff that Trump does is he wants to cut for larger corporations and all that, where it seems like Kamala is more like um, trying to for the people that are the regular consumer, the little people, right? To try to be able to increase them to be able to do things as well. And so
Well,
in most cases,
here's what people don't realize, Charles. So just like what you mentioned, right? This seems like it's gonna affect more of those hedge fund companies that has a lot of equity, a lot of capital gains. Then you know what they're gonna do if this gets implemented? They're just not gonna sell now.
yep,
Mhm.
So
exactly.
now we get less inventory into the market.
Yep,
Prices are gonna go up automatically now because we are still gonna have a issue with inventory.
right,
So
right,
these people have majority of all the inventory, believe it or not, because it's all rentals across the nation. So now they want to sell because there's all this capital gains that they're trying to reap. they're not going to sell anymore because it's so high now. They're getting taxed on it. And of course, they make more than $1 million a year. So they're just not going to sell. They're going to keep renting it out until a new president comes in line and makes it more favorable for them.
Right. I mean, it's not just about the corporations too, right, Chia? Those people in Silicon Valley who in a household is making 7 figures and above, now it's even harder for them to relinquish that. In the same situation as my client where I was sharing with you guys earlier, right? At 3.5, they bought it at 1.2. They don't get that capital gain until after the 500 mark, which is 1.7. So you take 3.5 minus 1.7, they earn about 1.8 in equity, which sounds like a beautiful number, right? Sounds like a beautiful number. You have to subtract, in this situation, she had to subtract 40% of that capital gain,
Yep.
which is now minus 1.8 million minus 720,000. That's a hard pill to swallow, Charles.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's a
The
hard
whole, that's the whole house.
Especially, especially if you haven't saved that kind of lump sum, you weren't prepared for it.
Correct. And because they're separating and whatnot, right? Now you minus that 720 from 1.8. They're now getting a little over $1 million, which means each person is going to get $500,000, give or take. They have already paid off $500,000 on their property and whatnot. So everybody's going to get roughly, or both sides going to get 750. 750 is great for where we are right now, and you can probably pay off the house completely for a $750,000 house here in Sacramento. It's great. But in the Bay Area, that's a down payment to a condo. That's a down payment to a $1.5 million house. And if you're not in retirement age, you don't get to roll that over again.
Which again is in of itself is insane. But that's a whole other conversation.
See, so you see how like this is not in favor of sellers.
Correct.
At all. But this is in favor of buyers, which is also not in favor of sellers.
Correct. And it's going to be lopsided. It's going to continue.
You see what I mean? So there's always incentives for buyers, but there's not enough incentives for sellers, where I feel like they should be focusing on, because sellers are the one that, of course, sell their homes. And that now becomes inventory to where now the playing field could be even, and home buyers now won't have to overbid with each other.
Right.
Because there's enough options to go around.
Right.
So now, what do you think this is going to generate? Down payment assistance increasing to $25,000 for first-time home buyers. It's going to bring more buyers into the market. Guess what? That's going to do a comparison with combined with this. Less inventory, more buyers, more overbids, more people paying out of pocket outside of appraisal gains, and just more competition. So the same home today that's $500,000 is probably going to go out to $550K.
Right. And I'm not
sure. We're going to be in that same boat where we were like competing and doing all those insane.
Yeah, it's going to be the exact thing that's going to happen, because these buyers are going to be excited that they got this much down payment to buy a home, but they're getting outbidded because now they're entering the market and there's so much competition.
Right, exactly.
Because everybody's looking at the same house. It's going to be like during COVID when there was like a long line waiting for a Six Flag ride just to go look at one house.
Right. And here's the other thing too, Chia. Here's the other thing. For the down payment assistance, is it really assistance, or is it like a second loan that we already have for CalHFA that can go all the way? They provide more than 25,000, right?
Yeah, sometimes up to 50,000, right?
So it's like it's already in place already. Okay, that program is a fantastic program for first-time buyers. We've done that several times for our clients, right, Chia? So if they put this in place, and if it's not a grant, and let's just say, for instance, even if it was a grant, okay? So two sides. If it's a grant, us taxpayers are paying for that. Mm-hmm. If it's not a grant and it's a silent loan, which is great, we already have that. So there's no need to have this second redundant one.
See, they paid, right, to provide 25,000 down payment assistance to qualifying. So are they adding to that existing?
Yeah. Is it a tag loan? What is it, right?
Do they know that prices are going to go up, so they're adding more funding to the assistance?
I don't
Well,
know.
and that assistance, Lisa, is that the one that's kind of like limited, or was that something different? Remember the one that you guys were talking about a couple of months ago that was coming back, and it was like a limited amount that only certain people could qualify
Yeah,
for,
that's a
and it.
dream for all. That's
Oh,
a dream
yeah,
for
yeah,
all.
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was also
So-
through
Well, how,
So some down payment
how is it?
assistance, Charles, is location and
Yes.
eligible only.
Yes.
So you
Okay.
have to be within a certain county or even subdivision to like even get that assistance full benefit. Because
Yeah.
they want to promote a certain subdivision more, right? They want to get people moving in there. So what they do is they increase the incentives of the down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, hoping more people would move into that area. So
Mhm.
it's to revitalize the area. That's what they're calling it.
Now, is that plan that you were just talking about? Is that only for California, Lisa?
The CalHFA one, yes.
Okay. So I wonder. So if this is something else, I wonder if other states have something similar, and if not, I wonder
They
if
do.
this is going to
They
be.
do.
They do. Okay.
Every
Yeah.
state has something similar. It's just not called Cal Halfa. It might be called Minnesota Halfa or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So then is that and are those specific state funded programs? And then if so, is this going to be, well, this is obviously a government funded program, I mean, the money must come from the government eventually anyway, but is it
Yes.
specifically going to be a government program that she's talking about here in this plan? And again, like you said, gee, it's vague, but where's that 25,000 going to come from? Is it going to be added to the state's plans? Is it going to come from a government plan? Yes. Yeah.
Mhm. So you see, it's
Business
at
owners like you, me, and Lisa is coming from us and middle class.
Yep.
Well, and then that's oh gosh, that's gonna make it capital gains though.
That's
And
a
then
lot.
and the tax rate. That's a huge increase. That's
Yeah.
I feel like in the end that's also gonna cause more businesses more to streamline even more, right? Or raise, either they're gonna do the same thing, they're gonna raise prices, they're gonna streamline by trying to do things with less people so they can pay less, right? They need to make their money still. Right. So either they're going to end up closing stores, or they're going to raise prices, or they're going to try to get their employees to do more for less, or less raises, less increases. So these huge corporations like Walmart or whatever else, they have, just billions of dollars, right? But they still, if they're raising, I mean, what's that kind of money going to come from on that kind of cost, right? I mean, this is I don't know. There's always going to be repercussions from these kind of things. So, and especially with an amount that large, that's a huge increase.
And here's one thing I want to talk about. I know it has nothing to do with real estate. It can, but look, tax credit for kids. I want to point something out. Okay, there's a lot of people out there that mistake this. They look at it and they're like, oh, look, I'm getting $3,600 credit for children that's aged between 2 and 5. But how much did you spend that year for that child?
Mm-hmm.
People don't think about that. And they look at them, they're like, this is great. I'm going to get this back. No. It's because they know that everything going up, the price of milk, cheese, eggs, formula.
Daycare.
You spend way more than $3,600 a year for that child already.
Yeah.
They're just giving some back a little bit now, right?
They're just getting like a month's worth of formula back to you.
Let me tell you, you get more credits. You get more credits as a homeowner or doing a savvy investment for your children.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Oh man.
Dude, and like this is what I want people to understand, okay? Because I know people out there that literally only have kids because they want more tax credits.
What?
I kid you not, Lisa.
The
I know
math
people
doesn't
out there that love having kids because they want to reap the benefits of all these tax credits.
Let me ask you, Chia, are those the same people that continue to do paycheck to paycheck and wonder why and add more children thinking that would fix the problem?
These are the same people that think that their tax return is a tax income check. is the actual income check. So now they go, so when they get that tax return, they go
Yeah.
splurge
Ugh,
instead of saving it, you know?
that hurts me for them. That hurts me
Yeah.
so much for them. I was like, oh man, they really,
And
really
these are the same people that, you know, I have to tell and say, hey, look, that tax return, it's a return. That's why it's called tax return. That means in order
yeah,
for there to be a return, you overpaid. So that's the only reason why you're getting a refund is because you overpaid on your tax. That's it. Why would you do that when you could, you know, be a business owner or own a home and plan your taxes with your CPA, and then that way you know there's no like, you know, surprises.
right.
On
And
either side, either you're
you
paying
could
or,
save a heck
or getting.
more.
Yeah, yeah. I think next time, Chia, we should bring a CPA on board.
We do. We
Hopefully,
need to. I
have
know
a
we've been
chance
talking
to
about it, but
teach.
my guy, he's been so busy.
Yeah, I know. Your guy is the same guy as my guy.
Yeah, he's so busy. So yeah, I would love for him to.
Yeah,
Maybe next year or like right when 2025 starts, before tax starts again, you know, we could bring him in to talk more
yeah.
about it. But yeah, you know, this is interesting to see. And you guys already know these are what they plan on implementing. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen. They're politicians, by the way. They try to get your vote. So you might be in favor of this, you might not. But it doesn't mean that if they get elected, it's gonna happen. These are proposals, you know. All right. What do you guys got on your agendas today? Charles, you want to share anything on the home inspection industry?
I mean, really, all I'm really seeing, like I said again, for the most part, is yes, I understand that there's so much going on with the cost of houses and these interest rates and everything else, but homes are still being sold and bought. We still, you know, and then I speak regularly with other businesses, you know, in the same industry, and homes are still selling. There's and inspections are still being done, and it's not just because of refinances, and it's not just because um, of sales. There's still homes being sold all the time. So it's interesting. You know, I feel like people that are selling or buying, they have reasons to, right? Either they're downsizing or they're moving out of state, and whether or not it's you know, something, you know, purposeful, or it's a necessity, they're still selling their house. They're still buying their house. You know, so have you seen a slowdown? Have you seen a change on your side, Lisa?
A slowdown in purchases,
Mhm.
in refinances, yes, but in purchases,
Mhm.
you know, I'm very, very blessed. Most of the people that I'm seeing that's buying is from uh, positioning them 2, 3, 4 years ago. Okay. Um, and it's been pretty steady for me. Has it been lower? Sure. Overall, just because there's not enough inventory. But as far as applications goes, as far as people wanting to qualify for a home, I haven't really seen it be lesser. But you know, I am very, very blessed with that. A lot of my colleagues say that, hey, it's been really, really slow for them, things like that. But I am very blessed.
So then, when you work with some of these clients that you have, so you're working with them for many years.
Oh
Then,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I guess I have a bleeding heart for the underdog. Most of my clients are first time buyers. Most of my clients need hand holding regarding credit, regarding how to save money for the next purchase and whatnot. So I'm constantly talking about the down payment assistance programs, and sometimes we get to them to the point where it's like, hey, you know, sometimes it's not as favorable for them. They do save that money, and those in 2, 3 years, they are able to do that, Charles. And it's a really, really beautiful journey. That's a priceless part of my job, to see somebody from where they think that, hey, I'm I'm in a tough situation. They just graduated from college. They never were taught how to monitor their credit. They don't have the best credit situation. They don't have the best savings situation. But just watching them just grow like that is just a priceless journey to be a part with them. So because of that, those are people who have appreciated the learning curve and being able to save up that amount, so they don't care what the market is doing. If I tell them, it's like, hey, it's still reasonable for you to do that, you're going to be paying a mortgage regardless of you renting or buying, right? You're either paying your landlord's or a mortgage, or you're paying your own mortgage. So they learn that, and they see in these certain times, and when people are buying less, like currently right now, and only because from my side, it's inventory wise, right? It's easier for them not to have to be in a bidding war and to purchase their house, and they can always refinance later on. But again, for me, I educate my people to let them know that, hey, in the event that refinancing is just not financially beneficial because the interest rate hasn't dropped to the point where it is beneficial for them, then make sure that you are prepared to do this. And if they're stretching out their debt to income ratio, Charles, I tell them, say, hey, have a plan B. Do you have wiggle room to build an ADU? Do you have wiggle room to rent out one of the other rooms? Things like that, just in case life happens. And to say life will never happen, Charles, is a little bit naive, right?
Yes, very much, very much. There's always something,
Yep.
It's interesting though, because there's always going to be some unexpected expense, and even if it's a part of the home, or if you rent, there's always going to be something that comes up, right? So
Yeah.
having that ability to take care of that without having to hopefully stretch into credit is definitely a good idea, right? But
Right.
it's great that that's a lot of your clients, that's who you're working with. That's amazing that you can take the time to work with them, and then and that's the thing, because there isn't a lot of education. That was something that I've noticed recently.
Yeah.
I think that it's definitely something that should be taught by the parents, but not all the parents are in a good spot to teach that, right? So
Yeah.
I understand there's actually with my son's school, there's actually a financial planning education that's mandatory.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, economics was a class that was mandatory, but that doesn't really teach you about how to save and how to properly spend, and the credit scores and all this other stuff that you have to learn by making mistakes and doing things if no one ever taught you, right? So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
my son is in his early 20s. He just graduated from UC Davis last year. And because of what I shared with my kids and whatnot, as soon as they were 18 and everything, I didn't have them leverage my credit because I want them to earn that on their own. I know a lot of times people say, hey, put your kids on your credit card and whatnot. No, I'm going to teach them how to fish. And my kids, both of them have close to an 800 credit score. They teach their friends that. And it's just really, really nice. My son was just talking to me about the other day that he's their financial guru in their group and whatnot. So it's like,
That's cool.
I
No,
love
that's
hearing that.
awesome. That's awesome.
Well, guys, we are at that hour. Good morning, Chang. You came in early, man. We're about to leave. It's 7 o'clock. It's been a little bit over an hour. Hopefully everybody learned something today. Again, if you guys have any questions about home inspections or loans or real estate, anything at all, you guys can reach out to us. We do this just to kind of, inform you guys, let you guys know about how the market's doing. And these topics, most of the time, is coming from you guys. So if you guys have anything you guys want us to go over or talk about, just send it over to any one of us. And then, yeah, we will love to go over them with you guys. You just got up. Yeah, man. Watch the rerun again, all right, Che? But other than that, we're going to let you guys all go. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a good weekend, Chi Chi fans. And we will see you guys next time, all right? Peace out.